A very warm welcome to the ODPP Café. My name is Anita Onuko. I'll be your host for today. The ODPP Café is a show brought to you by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, and it's a show that is meant to educate and inform you on matters in the criminal justice system. As always, we have a panel of experts that will be here to try and discuss our topic of the week. If you've been following us on Twitter, then you'll know this week we'll be talking about Anti-Fgm and some of the standard operating procedures that have been put in place by the ODM. There's a validation workshop this week, and I'll just take you through that in a bit. The show is live on Facebook. You can also follow us on YouTube at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. We invite you to subscribe as well, and also follow us on Twitter at ODPP_KE, and like and tweet and engage us in relevant conversations, especially with regards to the topic today. So as usual, I'm going to start with a quick roundup of what is happening at the ODPP, and of course, a quick roundup of the courts as well. Like I mentioned earlier, this week at ODPP, there was a validation workshop at the Kempinski, where they were discussing how to eradicate FGM in Kenya. There were standard operating procedures, yes, that were being discussed at that workshop. So the ODPP held a stakeholder validation workshop on the female genital mutilation standard operating procedures, SOPs. And for the sake of the show, allow me to say SOPs because that's quite a mouthful when you keep saying standard operating procedures. So the SOPs are for prosecution of FGM as a harmful cultural practice. So speaking during the workshop, the DPP Nurdin Haji described FGM as one of the most serious human rights violations against women and girls, as it causes physical, psychological, and in some cases, it causes death. So eradicating FGM in Kenya is one of those things that the ODPP is quite clear about. And that's why they developed the SOPs to standardize and ensure consistency and efficiency in investigation and prosecution of FGM cases. So that is one of those things that was happening at the ODPP this week. The next one is just a roundup from the courts now. 3 people were jailed for kidnap and gang rape. 2 people were found guilty of kidnapping and raping a woman, and they were sentenced to 10 years in prison. George Kimani and Michael Nganga got the 10 years after the prosecution proved that they were guilty of committing an organized criminal activity, contrary to Section 259 of the Penal Code. So these guys were accused of organizing a gang rape. Their accomplice, Betty Nyambura, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for kidnapping. The 3 were also sentenced to 3 years for assault and just give me a minute, my technology is playing games on me. The sentences are to run concurrently. So normally the show, we take you through a quick roundup of the courts, and it's normally not very exhaustive. We just pick a few of the cases in court and just give a quick highlight. The next case that was in court was the MCA. The Umoja 2 MCA was charged assaulting a businessman. Umoja 2 MCA was charged assaulting a businessman. The prosecution submitted that MCA Joseph Ouma Ndoji assaulted Jared Ouma by kicking and punching him on May 30th, 2019 at Kwamiti along Manyanja Road in Tena Estate. So the MCA was accused of harming someone, a businessman. He denied the allegations when the charges were read to him before Makadara Senior Principal Magistrate Stephen Jalango, and the matter will be mentioned on September 10th this year for further direction. So that happened in 2019, but it's in the courts now. The other case we have on our list is a man who was charged with defiling a minor. A man who allegedly defiled a 15-year-old girl as his brother watched at their house in Kangemi, Nairobi, pleaded not guilty to gang defilement charges. Eric Ikutu admitted he defiled the minor, but denied that he committed the offense in association with his brother Eric Omulanya. Omulanya has also denied the charges. Remember, we discussed about the age of a child, according to the law, is below 18, and the girl in question is a 15-year-old girl, so she's definitely considered a minor. Ikutu is also facing an additional charge of committing an indecent act with a minor, contrary to the Sexual Offences Act of 2006. Prosecution counsel Ann Kirimi sought the case to be heard on priority as the victim is a foreigner. Both were released on 300,000 bond, awaiting a pre-trial to be held on July 6th. We've discussed bail bond, we've discussed pre-trial, and of course, we've discussed the rights of a child according to the law. The next case is one that also made headlines on social media and of course in the news. A matatu driver has denied killing Deputy IG's daughter. Remember the case about a girl who was pushed in between two matatus in Nairobi. So Edward Mbugua was a driver and he was charged with dangerous driving. He appeared before, the daughter of Inspector General of Police, Edward Mbugua. So the driver is called Patrick Masharia, and he appeared before Milimani Traffic Magistrate Martha Nazushi and denied charges of causing death by dangerous driving. Of course, this is still in court. He's said to have reversed his motor vehicle dangerously and sandwiched a pedestrian, namely Nelly Waithera, between another motor vehicle. Waithera sustained injuries and was rushed to Kenyatta Hospital where she succumbed. So this case is fresh and is still in the courts, and we definitely continue giving you some highlights as we go along. So that's as much as we have from the courts today and what has been happening at the ODPP. And today our topic has been what again made news. The ODPP developed some SOPs, standard operating procedures, in anti-FGM cases, in how to handle anti-FGM cases. And today our panel is quite diverse in what they do and in their campaign against FGM. And I'm going to just take a few minutes to allow them to introduce themselves. Please help me welcome, of course, the ladies go first. So I'll start with you, Madam Tabitha.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers. My name is Tabitha Owia, Senior Assistant DPP, in charge of the Civil Rights Division.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sana. I will definitely skip you and go to Madam Sadia.
Good morning. My name is Sadia Hussein. I am the founder and CEO of Brighter Society Initiative and FGM survivor.
Good. Karibu sana to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, team. And I also wish to thank the Office of the ODPP for giving us this very important audience, where we'll also be talking about issues to do with FGM. So my name is Nicholas Songok. I work with the Anti-Fgm board, Nairobi. I am the manager, planning, strategy, and policy. Yeah.
Okay, karibu sana Mr. Songo. I hope usime boy child ameonewa vile ameintroduce mtu wa mwisho. So anyway, I want us to just start a little bit about the mandate of each of your offices, about what you do. So maybe just quickly, Madam Tabitha, what is the mandate of the anti-FGM units here at the ODPP?
Yeah, the mandate of the Anti-Fdm unit is to coordinate all matters relating to FGM and also to collaborate with stakeholder agencies to formulate policy and make recommendations for review of the law, and also to just ensure that there's efficiency and efficacy in the handling of FGM cases within the ODPP.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. And how about you, Mr. Sobok? What do you do at the what is the mandate of the Anti-FGM board?
Yeah, thank you very much. First, I want to start by saying that in the year 2011, Parliament enacted what we call a Prohibition of FGM Act, number 32, and that is now the act which gave birth to Anti-FGM board, which was established in the year 2014. And as per the act, the main mandate of the board is to carry out campaign against FGM. And we do this by normally carrying out what we call community dialogues. We also train the duty bearers, and we of late have also been trying to support communities to be able to hold a declaration against FGM. As you are aware, we have a presidential directive in place, and the directive states that we have to end this negative vice, because it's a very harmful practice to our men and women, and that by the year 2022 we'll be able to end this practice. So it means that by the year 2022 we are supposed to be having 0 incidences of FGM. Now the other issue is that in Kenya we have around 22 hotspot counties, starting all the way from Migori, coming all the way to Taita, then all the way to Northeastern, then going to parts of Baringo, West Pokot, and Mount Elgon.
I'll tell you that surprised me, the 22 counties in Kenya. I always imagined it's just 1 or 2, but 22, and that the government even went ahead and formed a body to deal with it came as a surprise to me, and I bet even for the viewers it's a surprise. But anyway, it's good to know what you do. So Sadia, just tell us, what does Brighter Society Initiative, what do you do there?
Okay, allow me to say, as a survivor, I use my personal story and testimony to share with the community, to make sure that other survivors do not pass, the pain and suffering we experienced as survivors. So the second thing is that we do mentorship for schools. We always go to schools and tell them that this is wrong, girls are born perfect and they don't have to be mutilated for them to be accepted within the society. Another thing is that most of the time you hear that FGM is sunnah from my community, you know. So we engage the religious scholars, and I did the first religious conference in 2018, where now religious scholars were saying in one voice that we really need to condemn FGM with the strongest term possible, speaking with one voice and saying it should end. This is a culture, and it has nothing to do with religion. So basically what we do is more of the advocacy, campaigning against FGM. When there are cases of FGM, sharing with the relevant authorities, trying to give psychosocial support to survivors. Remember, we are faced with double stigma. Before you are cut, there is that stigma around there
that you're not
your age mates. Yeah, you are not clean, There is a lot of pressure, the stigma from the age mates. Now, when you are subjected to FGM and you come out of your home county, like places to Nairobi, and you interact with others, now again there is another stigma.
That you are cut.
Kumbe ulikeketwa, you see? There is a lot of stigma. So we face double stigma. The community pressure versus the outside world. So as survivors, we are going through a lot. And that's why most of the time I want to build their confidence. And maybe my colleague didn't mention, in Kenya, we have over 4 million women and girls who are survivors of FGM.
4 million?
Yes. People who have went through the razor or the knife. So you can imagine, most of the time it's a difficult topic to discuss FGM. And most of the time as a survivor, I always tell people, because FGM is done to the hidden genitalia, it's hard to justify. But start imagining, what if what was cut was my lip and nose? Right now I wouldn't be even discussing. Everyone would see the scars. But since it's done to hidden genitalia, the scars are hidden, and people do not take FGM seriously. So now we are talking about over 4 million women and girls walking without either their lips or noses. For instance, it would be a national crisis,
That's a crisis.
Yes.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And I was also just watching some videos online, and I discovered it's not even just an African problem. It happens also in the West. And there are also things called cut vacations. Nyi mnaishi ng'ambo, lakini siku yako ikifika mnarudishwa nyumbani mnakatwa, and that's very unfortunate.
The cross-border issues.
The cross-border issues,
There is also medicalization.
Yes. Okay. So, Madam Tabitha, so FGM is this whole thing that the government has decided to focus on, including the ODPP. And now we are saying it's anti-FGM, not just FGM. It's an anti-FGM campaign and crusade. And that's why the SOPs were developed. But then, what does the law say about FGM? What is FGM?
Yeah, so in reference to the prohibition of the FGM Act, which my co-presenter has referred to, the definition says that FGM comprises of all procedures involving partial or total removal of female genitalia, or any procedure that causes injury to female genitalia, as long as it has got nothing to do with the medical intervention. And that is just a paraphrase. It is the definition is very comprehensive. And what I want to underscore is that it is a harmful cultural practice that leads to serious physical and psychological damage to the female, both girls and women, and it is something that should be condemned in the strongest terms
So you must be
possible.
clear about it. It is not a religious practice, because there's no religion that says girls must be cut.
As you can see, it is defined as a harmful cultural practice.
Yeah. But
So
I think when you read about it, then you discover people are using religion as an excuse.
it's used as a cover-up.
Yeah.
Used as a cover-up, but that is not, and that is why the law has come up strongly. The enactment of this act has been put in place, and the ODPP has gone a notch higher to come up with the standard operating procedures. That's to ensure that any person who violates this law faces the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that those people can go to court,
Yeah.
and they can justice is meted.
Okay. So Mr. Songok, Sadia said that there are different forms of FGM, and even Madam Tabitha has mentioned it. So how does it, is it just not, what are the different types of FGM?
Yeah.
So to speak? And it's very interesting for me that actually a man is speaking about this, because, you know, some of these things are commissioned by men, you know. It's a patriarchal society, wherever you are, men, you
Yeah.
are kusema. But now we are saying the different type of FGM. What are they?
Yeah, thank you very much. As per the prohibition of the FGM Act 2011, Section 2, it classifies the various types of FGM into 3 categories, although they are, in actual sense, there are 4 categories.
Okay.
And just as what my colleague has said, the partial or total removal. And when you look at those 2 words, then it will then be able to give us the different types of FGM. And starting from what we call the less severe to the most severe,
Yeah.
we have the type 1, which we call clitoridectomy.
Clitoridectomy.
Yeah, and that is about it's about cutting or pricking the clitoris of a woman, and of course when you look at the various communities, they do or they practice FGM in various ages. And there are also communities who also cut girls as young as 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah, and we've seen that happening in Itaita, where they use the fingers to prick the
nails.
clitoris of the
use
The nails.
child. Yeah, the nails. Yeah,
Yes.
Are you seeing the shock in my face?
it's very shocking. And type 1 is also practiced among the Kisii communities. And then we have the type 2,
So
which
you're calling
is
that the first one the less severe one?
yeah, less severe. Then now we have the type 2, which we call excision, which is now cutting of the clitoris and some parts of the labia minora and also labia majora. And some people call it scooping. You know, it's like now scooping the sexual organ of a lady,
Yeah.
and you just leave it that way. Amongst the Pokot, that is the practice of FGM, which is very prevalent,
Yeah.
and also among the Samburu and of course other communities. Then now we have the type 3, which we call the infibulation. Now this one is it's about now cutting the sexual organ of a lady, then you stitch it. And the stitching
My skin is crawling. Just crawling. That's what you're
stitching,
saying.
yeah, you stitch it back, and then you leave a very small hole that will allow the passage of urine and menses. And sometimes even when you stitch that part, the whole section gets stitched totally, which then will not allow menses and urine to pass. And of course, that type of FGM is also practiced amongst the communities which live in Nordistan, especially the Somali. And of course, when they're also doing that, the type 3, sometimes after stitching, they tie the legs of the lady so that the lady or the girl is immobilized.
To
Can,
heal
yeah,
or what?
yeah, to heal. And so that, of course, when the girl moves, of course, maybe some part will tear. So then the last one, which of course WHO classifies as others, is the type of FGM where we have there are some communities who pull the sexual organ of the ladies. They pull the clitoris to make it longer, because there are some communities who say that when the clitoris is longer, I think there are some men who enjoy it. So in essence, when you also look at the reason why women do this, it's because they also want to please the men. So now the issue of pulling, there are also some communities who do ringing. They put rings on the sexual organ of the
Does that happen
female.
in Kenya? Anyway, in Kenya?
The pulling is done by some communities in Uganda. Yeah, but of course the issue of putting rings on the sexual organs, there are quite a number of people in Kenya who do that. Yeah.
So this is not religion. This is not. It is total violation.
Yeah, it's not religion.
Just to please men.
And I also want to inform you that when the missionaries came, they were among the first groups to condemn FGM.
Yeah.
And initially, the female, the whole practice was referred to as female circumcision.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when now the missionaries came in, they were now even able to call it the way it's supposed to be called, female mutilation.
Yeah.
Because it's really cutting that part, and it has no formula. You cut maybe here, there, without any formula.
Yeah.
And there is no medical school which trains probably the medical practitioners on how to do female genital mutilation.
Yeah.
Of course, they teach probably the medical practitioners on how to do the male circumcision. Yeah.
Okay.
But not the.
So I want Sadia to tell us the effects, because she's going to be speaking to us about her experience as a survivor. So the effects of FGM. But before that, I wanted Madam Tabitha to just clarify one thing. Male circumcision is nowhere in this act, is it?
Male circumcision is nowhere in this act. This is because male circumcision has been justified as a medical necessity, and therefore it has medical backing.
Yeah.
However, we condemn forced male circumcision totally, because there are some communities again that don't practice male circumcision, and they find themselves in the hands of people who force them to get circumcised. And even those male circumcision, we recommend that it should be done in a proper way in a medical institution, because in some cultures the kind of practices involve sharing of the blades and all that, and so that the victims or
no anesthesia, nothing.
They are exposed to risks, health risks. So that is what I can say,
including
about
HIV.
Including HIV. That is what I can say about male circumcision.
And then, like Sadia was mentioning earlier, it is not mutilation. Male circumcision is not like
in fact, even in the Kiswahili word for circumcision is tohara.
Tohara.
Yeah, and for mutilation, ni ukeketaji.
Oh.
Okay, allow me to say the difference between the male circumcision
and the
female. Because I know many people would ask why men are allowed to do and female are denied. You know, what is cut from a man is a skin. The foreskin is removed for medical reasons, to promote a hygiene. Even the word he said, tohara, came from an Arabic word meaning cleanliness. So you are making the person become clean. And for men it's true. The foreskin would keep some dirt. When it's removed, they will be clean. And it looks even more beautiful. But for women, they remove like they change the whole picture of the genitalia. And in my books, I always say this is a hidden scars of FGM.
Yeah.
Why I've written this book is my personal testimony and to shed light for more people to understand what this whole FGM is.
Yeah.
Here, I have this one for the children.
Okay.
And allow me to say this. The reason as to why I wrote this book is to give people understand.
Yeah.
Here, I've written, it's like a flower, you know. So, for the women
I like the way you
genitalia,
say girls are born perfect.
exactly. This is a flower. A flower needs to be nurtured, not to be removed. You know, the more you remove parts of the flower, the more you are destroying the flower, you know.
Yes.
So for the female genitalia, it's an organ. What is cut is an organ, not a skin. So you can imagine, now you can tell the
The
difference.
difference is quite clear.
Yes,
Yeah.
now we come to the effects of
Yes.
FGM. Starting from the non-medical reasons,
Yeah.
she said. If today you go to hospital and your finger has to be removed because of medical reasons, that's okay. But if it's removed, everyone would ask you, why was it removed? Then you should justify. Because, you know, it developed something and
It
the
had to be removed.
doctor justified that it should be removed.
Yeah.
But when can you go now and say, I want my finger removed? Never. I like the answer. Never. The same way, we don't want any girl to go through FGM. It should be never as well. Why? Because, you know, the effects come from the first preparation of FGM. No one prepares you for the pain. No one, absolutely no one. So, the moment you are taken to the bush, now imagine I was cut at 10 years. So I will try to mix my story.
Yeah, please do, because I wanted to find out just a bit of that as
Yes,
well. Yes.
my story and the effects in relation to the effects. So now I was cut at the age of 10 years old. So you can imagine as a 10-year-old girl, excited, you know, you will be too excited because of the pressure from the girl.
Yes.
You are not cut, you are not clean when you are at school. So I really wanted to go through FGM.
Oh,
I was so much excited because I thought I would be washed, you know, you will become clean. Then on the contrary, you are taken to the bush, a lot of women surrounding you, so you don't know if it's a war, what's happening, you have no idea. So the shock,
yeah.
the first effect begins, the shock. You start to tremble, you know, a lot of issues. So now, again, the deception part. Now the trauma starts from there.
Yeah.
Reason being, you expected you will be clean. Now your genitalia is being removed. You know, it involves a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Those women are holding your hands, others holding
These
your...
women you know of or just three women?
Exactly. The cutter was actually my grandmother. May God forgive her.
Yeah.
She passed on and I've forgiven her. So you can imagine your grandmother cutting your skin, you know, your meat is going, you know. For example, and this is some of the best explanation maybe perhaps I can give. You go to the kitchen and you want to cook something. Then accidentally you cut your finger. And then you want to use some water. You know, there is that pain,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely, yeah.
Inawasha sana.
Yeah.
In Kiswahili it's more explanatory. Kuna vile inawasha. So you can imagine, hapo ni kidonda. Sometimes kwa sababu ya ile unaona ile uchungu imekuwa too much. So mkojo inaruka. Ikiruka sababu ile uchungu, hapo ndio sasa
Ni kama kupaka sanitizer
umechoma.
kwa kidonda.
Imagine. So hapo hata hujui, alafu you cannot scream because kuna wenye wamekuwekelea
Oh.
piece of cloth in your mouth ndio watu wasisikie what's happening. You know, wenye wamekuvuta mikono, wamama wazima, wewe ni mtoto mdogo, umeshikwa tena umelazwa hapa tu. You see? So the struggle, you even struggle to breathe, leave alone like screaming.
Yeah.
So after they cut, and nasikitu ati wanakata wanawacha, it's something they repeat and repeat and repeat, and I don't know what they cut now. So after they are done, they use some medical herbs. Remember, there was no anesthesia, so the pain is double. Now, wakishamaliza, when they are done, you stand up. They help you stand up. After they put the medical herbs, you know, charcoal and something called heldit grinded together. So you can imagine, How does charcoal even help you heal? They believe it will stop the blood. So now, the act of bleeding, again, that's another effect,
Yeah.
the bleeding.
And
You're
some
not
bleed
supposed to
death.
bleed,
Yeah.
and you are bleeding. Yes, example like the girl who died in Meru.